Hey, Baby Yoda. We're making macarons today. You want one? Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to my channel where we talk about quick and easy, delicious, keto-friendly food. Today, we're gonna make a keto-friendly macaron that even Baby Yoda can eat. Now, we've seen Baby Yoda be a keto fan or low-carb fan time and time again. But recently, he fell off the bandwagon. So let's help him get back on track, shall we? We'll first start with the cookie part, which is what Baby Yoda likes, and later in the video we'll make the buttercream to complete the macaron. For the dry ingredients, we'll need half a cup of almond flour, 3/4 cups of erythritol, a teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We'll give these ingredients a good mix and blend in a food processor or blender just to make sure we have the finest powder possible. After a few pulses, and now that it's ground up, we can sift it through a fine mesh. The finer the particles are, the smoother and more airy will the final product become. Now, if you're having trouble breaking up the larger particles, especially of the erythritol, mine seem to be a little wet, you can take a spoon and use it to scrape and sort of press it through and try to break up those large chunks. All right, we can set this aside and move on to our wet ingredients. For the wet ingredients, we'll need 2 egg whites, about a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla, and the nice blue food coloring for Baby Yoda. Now, to separate the egg whites from the yolks, I just crack the eggs open and sort of pour the yolk between the 2 halves of eggshells, and the egg whites drop into the small dish. Now, you do need to be careful here, as none of that yolk can mix in with the whites. Otherwise, the meringue just will not form. Now that the wet ingredients are ready, we can start to make the meringue. Using a stand mixer, we'll whip the egg whites first. You can use a little bit of cream of tartar if you'd like, just to get it going faster. We use a wire whisk and start whisking. Now, this will take a few minutes whisking on high speed. Mine took roughly 8 minutes or so, and then you can check it along the way. What you're looking for are stiff peaks, but we want to stop the mixing just before we get to stiff peaks to add the vanilla and the food coloring. Give it another 30 seconds or a minute or so, and we can check for stiff peaks. So this is what you're looking for. You want to make sure that the meringue doesn't fall back on itself, and you don't want to overmix either. So this is about right. All right, we'll take the bowl off the stand, and now we can fold in our dry ingredients. And you want to do it about 1/3 at a time so you can incorporate it nicely before putting more. This allows the meringue to incorporate everything evenly without clumping and without having big chunks of dry ingredients in one spot or another, making a smooth and even batter. Now, you also don't want to overmix, so once it's well incorporated, I can scrape down the sides and get ready to put it into a piping bag. Now, I didn't have a piping bag handy, so I'm just using a Ziploc bag and putting a piping tip in the corner, using a glass to secure it so that I can add the batter into the bag without it tipping over. The nice thing about a Ziploc bag is now you can seal it, and if you're not ready to pipe yet, you can store it and save it for later. Here I have a baking tray with a piece of parchment paper lined, and when you're ready to pipe, just cut open the tip and start piping about an inch and a half circles. Now some folks do use silicone mats, or there are templates to get that perfect circle. Here I'm just making some to eat, so I'm not too worried about the uniformity, but uniformity is nice if you're trying to impress guests. Here's the fun part. Just lift the tray by a couple inches and drop it down. This removes any large air bubbles from the meringue, but also makes the keto version of the cookie a bit flatter and more uniform. Now, very important to set this aside and let it dry out a bit for about an hour.
1 hour later.
Now you can tell it's ready when you can rub your finger across the top without anything sticking. Time to bake. So preheat your oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. These will bake for about 15 minutes. All right, after 15 minutes, they are done. You can take them out of the oven. I'll set it on a wire rack to cool. These do need to cool for quite a bit, as they will be hot and soft. You want them to harden so you can take it off of the parchment. So about an hour. So here's after an hour later, and we're gonna start taking them carefully off the parchment. They may stick a little bit, but with a little bit of work, you can peel them off. Here you can see a very nicely formed cookie. It is probably good to eat just here and now, and you could definitely do so. I usually do eat a couple while they're still a little warm, but even better if you can wait and make the full macaron. I had a couple stuck together due to the spacing, but it's okay. You can just kind of crack them open and split them apart. Nobody can tell the difference. And there you go, a plate full of delicious and keto-friendly almond flour meringue-based cookies. These are ready to eat. Let's try one, shall we? Now these do break open with a bit of a snap. What you're looking for is a nice crispy shell, but also a full inside. You don't want a hollow inside. They are somewhat finicky to make, whether you overmix or undermix or overbake, underbake. They could turn out differently, but give it a few tries and practice makes perfect. I've definitely had to go through many batches before I can get one that was passable. So these do taste quite good. A hint of vanilla flavor, a nice sweetness to the cookie, a nice crunch in the outside, a little chewy and somewhat tender and soft on the inside. But for the most part, they just look amazing due to the food coloring and the nice colors. You could make whatever color you like, and you can add different fruit extracts for different flavors. So that's our cookie. Now we can start to make the buttercream. All right, 3 simple ingredients here. We have about a half a cup of erythritol, an eighth of a cup of vanilla creamer, and 4 tablespoons of butter. Now, if you don't have vanilla creamer, you can always use a half a teaspoon of vanilla extract and about 1/8 of a cup of heavy whipping cream. So back to the stand mixer, we're going to first mix up the softened butter and then incorporate the erythritol slowly before adding the cream and the food coloring. I also did add a couple more spoonfuls of the erythritol and continue mixing till it becomes a bit more of a creamy texture. With the erythritol, it doesn't act exactly like sugar, so the texture is not going to be like a usual buttercream, but it still works. So we'll scoop it into a Ziploc bag. Again, I didn't have a piping bag, but this way I can kind of seal it and then further mix it in the bag just to make sure to get a creamier texture. Ready to pipe. We'll take one of our cookies and pull a dollop of the buttercream on. Then we'll take another cookie and put it together like a little sandwich. Press down a little bit and let that cream spread out a little bit. If it does overflow, just take your finger and wipe off the excess. Now this cream isn't as creamy as a traditional buttercream because of the erythritol and doesn't act exactly like sugar. So I'd love to hear from those that have tried this before. Maybe there's a better way to make the buttercream. But if you have thoughts on how to make the buttercream creamier, please leave them in the comments below. I'll make one more just for show. And honestly, it's because I already ate the rest of them. They say these taste better if left in the fridge overnight. Who are they kidding? I finished these right away. So there you go. Delicious, colorful, delightful, keto-friendly macarons that anyone, even Baby Yoda, will enjoy. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and have a great day.